going to be our little bit of talk about Living Breath Foundation and cystic fibrosis, especially some of the older kids that just came in today. We've been given a couple of key words about cystic fibrosis. The Living Breath Foundation is sponsoring this camp, and what we're asking you is to take a little bit of time, learn a little bit about cystic fibrosis, and pass it on to your parents as you take your ride home. Anybody that learns about this is helping our cause of bringing awareness to this illness, okay? And let's just go over the key words we used. The first day were the lungs and the pancreas. And I've randomly tested you guys. You're doing great. We're going to come out today and actually try and get you on some camera and get your responses. They don't have to be exact. You give it to us what you've learned about cystic fibrosis as we walk around. Okay, we may just pull you out of the drill real quick, and that's important for our foundation to be able to show we are trying to teach as well as have a football camp here. We're trying to teach you a little bit about the illness. Okay, so our first two keys were lungs and pancreas. For the new ones and for review, the lungs and CF are a real problem, keeping them clear. Mucus builds in those lungs, bacteria grows. The CF person cannot clear the mucus out of their lungs. It's collecting, eventually it degenerates the lungs, okay? So they can't bring in enough air. They don't breathe very well. Like I told you, the eventual cause of death for somebody with CF is respiratory failure. Lungs get out. The pancreas helps the digestion system. Doesn't work very well without enzymes for somebody with CF. So every time they take, whether it's a snack, whether it's a full lunch, they grab however many they're prescribed, a set of enzymes, have to swallow them. As you might imagine, really inconvenient. If you're out camping, you and I can just grab a snack and eat it. They've got to really be careful, make sure they have their medicine with them. Okay? The two numbers we heard yesterday were 30,000 and 37. 30,000 of the people with the disease in the United States out of 3.5 or 350 million. Very, very rare illness. That's why we're doing this camp, to create some awareness. Somewhere, sometime, somebody's going to bump into this, one of you guys, and you're going to have some knowledge about it. 37 is the median lifespan right now for a person to live with cystic fibrosis. Like I say, 30 years ago it was young teens. 40 years ago, a person with CF probably didn't go to school, was just got to grade school. So they've made great strides in that area. What I want to talk to you just a little bit about today is how the person with CF maintains their health as well as they can. If they've got the pancreas problems, I just told you, the way they help their digestive system is enzymes. And a child with CF would have a pack like you do, and there'd be a plastic bag or whatever they carried in full of pills, basically enzyme pills. Eat that when they eat. That helps the pancreas, okay? And the other aspect of the lungs, the way the individual helps the lungs is, years ago they used to have to beat on your back, up and down the side. You have to lay on a special table, turn yourself upside down, your head down, and they would actually cup their hands and pound on the kids, because they were only kids actually that had CF. They would pound on them, and the purpose of that is to help the lungs loosen the mucus, and they cough it out, and it doesn't necessarily mean they're coughing it out and spitting it. They can be just like you with a cold, you cough and swallow, and it's out of the lungs at that point. And what they've come up with in the last 15 years is a vest that people can put on, and it's like a life vest. Has a compressor that hooks up to it, and it blows it full of air, and then shoots air at certain times per minute, and it shakes them. Shakes. This creates a cough. It creates a cough in you if you have it. And what's that doing? That's breaking up the mucus in the lungs. That allows them to clear. Okay? And they do that probably an hour a day, 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the evening. I can only tell you from my kids' point of view, young adult point of view, they can't do anything until they do that when they get up in the morning. They're very, very, very congested. You know, it's like starving for air, basically. So they get up, they strap on that vest, go ahead and do this 30 minutes at the same time. They'll use a nebulizer, which they'll put liquid antibiotics in or different medicines. They take a saline solution, all this to help the lungs, and they'll go ahead and breathe in for another 20-25 minutes and get this medicine deep down into their lungs. Very, very helpful. These are all things that have happened in the last 20 or 30 years. You know, there's obviously a search for a cure with CF, and that's the ultimate goal, but some of the great things that have happened have been quality of life. And my kids came down here to USC 7 or 8 years ago with a vest, with this equipment. 30 years ago, that wouldn't have been possible. First of all, they probably wouldn't have been alive, okay? And second of all, this equipment was not available. So they were really bound to their family. This has allowed that young adult to have some freedom. My kids are 18, I'm from Monterey, they moved down to LA, had a great experience in college, went to USC, and finished in 4 years, were able to graduate. So you know, I don't want you to feel that, and I talked to you a little bit about yesterday, it's that invisible disease. If you see them on the street, you would have no idea until you found out the symptoms and why is that person coughing so much, because they cough all day long trying to clear. And so they've come up with great quality of life changes for these people with CF. You know, like I said, we hope to cure like anything, but it helps those living with CF right now have a better quality of life. Once again, you guys being here at this camp is helping someone with CF. We raised money to put on this camp, and that money will go to families with cystic fibrosis in the next year. It may go to scholarships, it may go to financial aid for a family that's suffering from this disease and needs whatever it may be. A piece of equipment, a vest we may help buy, whatever their needs are is what we try to do. So thank you for coming to this camp. It's allowed us a platform to work off of, and just know that you being at this camp is helping those with cystic fibrosis, okay? So I'll tell you, I've talked to most of the young kids, and they've nailed the questions as far as what organs it affects, how it affects it, what's the consequences, how many people have it. So we're going to, like I said, we're going to hit you a little bit, and it's very, very impressive in what these young kids, the younger group who I've talked to, don't even realize they've learned about CF, but can come up with these answers. And I do encourage you, when you get picked up today, tell your parents or whoever's giving you a ride, tell them what you learned about CF. It helps us pass the word along, okay?